It's something we do every single day, and a lot of the time we don't even think about it. We influence the emotions of other people. And today, we're going to pull back that curtain and look at the hidden science behind how we connect, persuade, and yeah, sometimes even manipulate the people in our lives.
I mean, just think about it for a second. That time you tried to crack a joke to make a friend feel better after a rough day. Or when you had to choose your words so carefully to diffuse a tense meeting at work. It just feels like instinct, right?
Of course you have. It's a totally universal experience. It's literally how we build relationships, how we get things done together, how we navigate our entire social world. But here's the thing. There's an entire field of science dedicated to figuring out exactly how that works.
And it's even got a name, of course, Interpersonal Emotion Regulation, or IER for short. That's the fancy term for this really fundamental human skill, that process of shaping how someone else feels. And as we're about to see, it can be an incredible tool for connection, and also the source of some really tricky ethical questions.
Okay, so if we're going to talk about this as a science, we have to go way beyond just stories and personal experiences. How do scientists actually prove that one specific action, a kind word, a certain look, genuinely makes someone feel better and isn't just a total coincidence?
That's the million-dollar question in psychology, isn't it? It's one thing to notice that two things happen together, that's just correlation. But it's a whole other ballgame to prove that one thing caused the other. How on earth do you isolate that connection?
Well, to get to that cause and effect proof, researchers have a pretty powerful toolkit. First, they'll run what are called randomized controlled trials, or RCTs, where one group might try a specific strategy to cheer someone up, and a control group does something else. It's all about seeing the direct effect. Then they use longitudinal studies to follow people for months or even years to see how these emotional strategies play out in the real world over time. And finally, they do meta-analyses, which is basically a study of all the other studies to find the big, reliable patterns that show up again and again.
So what does all that research actually lead to? Well, it leads to real-world interventions. We're talking about things like structured empathy training programs, communication workshops that are designed to help couples and families, and even emotional intelligence coaching for entire teams at work. And the goal behind all of this is actually super positive. It's all about building better connections. When these programs are done right, those big meta-analyses we talked about, they show real, measurable improvements in things like empathy, better teamwork, and even people being happier at their jobs. So this stuff really works.
But, and this is a big but, here's where it gets really complicated. The strategies that work wonders in one place might totally flop or even make things worse in another. And that brings us to the absolutely crucial role of culture.
You see, there's a pretty fundamental difference in cultural playbooks here. In a lot of Western cultures, there's a huge value placed on being open, authentic, expressing yourself. Sharing your feelings is often seen as a really healthy thing to do. But in many Eastern societies, the priorities are different. The focus is more on group harmony and emotional control, where holding back certain emotions can actually be seen as a sign of maturity and respect for the group.
And the takeaway from that is massive. Trying to get a friend to open up and talk about it might be the most comforting thing you can do in one culture, but it could be incredibly stressful and just plain wrong in another. It's this powerful reminder that when it comes to emotions, there's no single rulebook. Context is 100% everything.
This brings us to what is maybe the trickiest, most complex part of our entire conversation. Because if we can learn to systematically influence how people feel, we have to talk about the ethics of it. And we are walking a very, very fine line here.
And that leads us right to the core question. What's the difference between being a supportive friend and being a calculating manipulator? Between a helpful boss and a controlling one? The techniques might be the same. It's really the intention behind them that changes everything.
And these concerns are not just theoretical anymore. They're very real and very modern. We're grappling with everything from a salesperson using persuasive tactics that feel a lot like manipulation to the rise of emotional monitoring software in the workplace. And now we're even seeing algorithms and AI designed to nudge our emotions when we're online. How do we get the benefits of this science without giving up our personal freedom?
So let's make this really concrete. Let's look at a case study that's playing out right now in offices all over the world, this huge debate over emotional surveillance at work. The two sides on this are just worlds apart. On one hand, supporters claim that tracking how a team is feeling, maybe through software, maybe even biometrics, can help boost performance and stop people from burning out. But the critics fire right back, saying this is a huge invasion of privacy that creates this toxic pressure for people to act happy, no matter how they actually feel inside.
So, where does all this leave us? Well, for this science of interpersonal emotion regulation to be a force for good, it seems like it has to stand on three main pillars. First, we need the science to be precise, so we actually understand cause and effect. Second, we need that cultural sensitivity, so we know our actions will be received well. And third, we absolutely need rock-solid ethical rules to make sure this powerful knowledge isn't misused.
When it comes right down to it, this whole thing is about what it means to live together. As one researcher put it so well, managing emotion means managing our shared humanity. It's about navigating our social world with skill, with care, and with a sense of responsibility.
And that's really the thought I want to leave you with. This science is moving fast. It's giving us more power than ever to understand and influence each other. So the big question isn't just for the scientists anymore, it's for every single one of us. With all this new power, what are our responsibilities to each other? What kind of emotional world do we really want to build together?